podcast.
Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our panelists. So, I have to be honest. When I was invited to moderate and I was shown the agenda, I saw that I had an hour and 15 minutes and 5 questions. And I was like, wow, how are you going to fill up this space? And then I saw who the panelists were. And I was like, oh, we're good. This is going to be a good conversation. There's so much knowledge, so much expertise, so much understanding of community, and so many powerful Black female voices on this stage. They might have to cut us off. I'm so sure we're going to fill the room. So let's just go ahead and dive in. I gotta lean forward because I need to see your faces, ladies. Hi, 92%. How are we doing this afternoon?
We're great.
Okay, so 92% has become more than a statistic. It's a symbol of our power, our loyalty, and our leadership. How do we honor our commitment to our community while also preserving ourselves as Black women in this movement work? Just to start it off a little bit.
Well, it's hard because we weren't taught that. Most women go by what they see and the way they were taught growing up. So all we have ever seen is we were raised by protectors. Our parents, our mother has always worked, worked in the home, protected not only her kids, the husband too. I can remember when the insurance man come to the door and my dad didn't have the money, my mama would answer the door just to give an explanation where he can come back in 3 days. And when the light bill was due, but several other bills was due, my mom picked up an extra shift because my dad was already working 2 shifts. So the daughters that was in the house was the one that had to take care of the food and the cooking and making sure we was doing something. So we weren't taught that to take care of ourselves. So I feel like the new generation, they are spoiled and we are teaching them that, but it's kind of making them selfish because they look out for themselves and now they don't want to take care of the parents. That's why you think they need more nursing homes. We need more nursing homes. Even though seniors are living longer, women are outliving men 9 to 1, but we are more independent. We want to do more now. And I'm over senior services. So we have a lot of single older women, but then it's no older men. It's no older men for them to have as a companion because they dead. And then the ones that's alive, they want younger women. They don't want the senior women.
Now, Commissioner,
Well, it's the truth. Well, y'all don't want it. Don't get somebody else to answer it. Get someone else. I'm telling you statistics. I'm over senior services.
Go ahead.
I have the statistics.
Go ahead.
I have all of the statistics,
That's
and
right.
it's telling me
The data.
this. I got everything, and it's the truth. And I don't know any other way of saying it. It is what it is. Right. But the women, we're going to make it do what it do anyway. Yeah. No matter whether we young or old.
That's right. But to add to that, the 92%, we've always been the 92%.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's just a measurable number that has been broadcasted since the election, but that's not new.
that's right.
That's who we are, and it's who we are historically.
That's right.
And when she was even speaking to women being protectors, it's who we are even in ancient history.
Yeah.
Our African queens were warrior queens. Our Queen Aminas and our Queen Yasanti Ways and Njingas, they were warrior queens. Right. Queen Candace is in the Bible. Yeah. These are warrior queens. That's just who we are as people, and it's our nature. But you are correct, and in your field, and I even tell my sister Angela here all the time, you gotta rest. Yeah. You gotta rest, but you're right. We weren't not necessarily modeled that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's actually what's standing out. If I was to pull from both of your statements, is that maybe the younger generation is having to unlearn and unpack some of the societal ideas of what rest and productivity and those things look like. And those things are at odds with the things that have sustained us as a people through history. This kind of constant productivity, it educates us away from ourselves. And it takes away from the time that we need to sit with elders and to learn and understand and even know our history, our true history, because we know we're not going to get that at school, right? We need to know our true history and not have everything that's mentioned about us in history be something that's pathologized or stated as a victim. That we really need I feel like the young people that you might be mentioning don't know that, and it needs to be unpacked and relearned.
I want to lean in here just for a moment because and Dewan, I meant to tell you this the other day. There's a sister that came up to me while we were in Raleigh. We had a rally in Raleigh, and she came up to me and she said, what you all are doing is confusing right now because everybody is telling us that it's time to rest.
Right.
But you all are clearly not resting. You all are working. And so I really want to take a moment to debunk that. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting rest, Arian, because she's been saying, but I think that we are, as Dr. Dyson told us on a call recently, he's like, we're working in shifts.
That's right.
We are working in shifts. It is okay not to work yourself to death, literally, but also understand what time it is. Right. We're not in a season of deep rest. We're not in a season of going to the spa and getting facials and massages right now. We're not in a season of hibernation. We are in a season of planting seeds so we can reap a mighty harvest very quickly. We are in a season of crisis. And so I've never known Black people to not show up for each other in crisis. We have our elders, we have our youth, everyone is in crisis. Now, the sad part is many of us who have been in some form of national leadership are just starting to feel the pain of a crisis that our folks have been yelling about for decades, right? We're now experiencing it on every side, regardless of income level, regardless of geography, regardless of whatever. Now we're all in the same boat. So now we got to paddle. I don't know how you paddle and rest at the same time. I know.
So I think the issue for many of us is that last year, if we just talk about 2024, it really took Black women really put it all on the line. And it's not that we don't always do that, but we were asked to put so much on the line last year that it almost left us uncovered. And that is where we began to feel the effects of some of the gaps that still exist around women's leadership, around whether or not we're worthy, about whether or not we are prepared to lead. I remember telling someone that I don't have to agree with everything that Kamala Harris is talking about, but it makes me feel a way that people are questioning her brilliance and her ability as a leader. And it impacted me personally because I saw myself in that. Because I've been in rooms where, because I'm a Black woman, I'm not automatically treated as if I don't have multiple degrees, as if I haven't worked for 20 years, as if I don't know what I'm talking about. So it was a different kind of uncovering that happened in 2024. So there are those who are trying to heal from that, which is why our spaces that we are creating to save ourselves have to include healing. They have to include faith. They have to include God and prayer and Jesus and church and all of the different things that bring us back, ancestral information, all of the things that bring us back to being whole. All of that is a part of the strategy for liberation. You can't leave that aside. Joy has to be centered, because while we are not always able to rest, if we are working with joy, there's something different about the way that feels than working with pain or working out of trauma. And so we have to create spaces that allow us to take care of each other. Angela just asked, are you going to be on the call tomorrow night? I'm like, baby, I'm going to bed tomorrow night, right? But Angela will also tell you that almost every single night for the last 10 days, we be on the phone to 2, 3 in the morning trying to be sure that we are covering each other and other members of our team who don't have the opportunity to be up like that. So it's all about creating the spaces for ourselves right now where we can cover each other, that those who need to rest and recuperate and become revived arrived, that they have what they need, but somebody got to stay working right now because on this, what we dealing with right now, this is urgent. It is urgent, and we didn't create this. So it's not our fault that we got to work right now, but it's no, regardless of whose fault it is, it's what time it is. It's an urgent time.
And we have protected everyone.
That's right.
Across the board. And if you look at it, because it was a certain class of people could get away with stuff. So it's not going to be a class now. I don't care how you look. You can be light skinned. They don't care now. If you are black and brown and you're a black woman or you consider yourself as black, Latino, or anything else, they going to cut your throat. So it's going to either be rich or poor.
That's right.
No, all the middle class, and
out.
if you look like this, they going to let you do this. And you ain't going to be able to do, they don't care how you look now.
That's right.
If you fall in that category, your throat is cut.
Nadia like, whew.
I mean, like that was one question. That was just the one. That was just one question. So, but since we kind of dived already into this, I want to center us a little bit in the healing conversation because I was going to talk about this later, but we're here now, and we are in Birmingham. And Birmingham has a beautiful daughter named Angela Davis. And I've had a wonderful opportunity to sit with her on a few occasions and talk to her. And she has these fantastic ideas around radical self-care, right? And empowerment movements and all those kind of things. But she also says the social and political power and movement building is necessary because those things are the things that are exhausting us. Yeah. Those things are things that are wreaking havoc on our mental health. So as we're thinking about those things, I also appreciate you mentioning like the commodification of self-care. It isn't, like if you want to go get a bath and manicure, beautiful. Those are great and necessary. But sometimes it means that we need to sit in silence. Sometimes it means we need to rest. Also, another few other things that came up, healing. You cannot heal by yourself. You have to heal in community. Yes. You have to heal in community. And I think sometimes people try to kind of step away. No, we need each other because right now there is a healing process going on. I don't know how everyone else felt during the election. I can say for myself, like you mentioned, it did feel like a slap in the face, but it also felt like oh, thanks for the reminder.
Right.
Like I already knew what was up. Yeah. I'm about to get back to doing what I already have always been doing, but thanks, I appreciate that. But it was still exhausting. Also, you can't rest without accountability. So I appreciate the conversation that y'all had because I heard y'all say it backstage. And she's like, nah, girl, I'm going to go sleep. Like, but you have to hold each other accountable for that. So as you're doing movement work, check on each other. And that's for every community. We had some neighborhood associations here earlier. Check on your people. Are they working too hard? If you're seeing them at every meeting, on every call, you might consider them someone who's admirable, but you should also tap them on their shoulder and say, have you slept? Yeah. Have you eaten anything today? Have you taken a day off? We need to do that for ourselves. We need to do that for each other. So I appreciate that you all have already said this. Now, we know to rest. We're going to come back to rest. We're going to end on healing. But we also had to strategize, right? Because
But before you get to strategize, I want to say this too because I think it's important. Arian mentioned it. Dewana mentioned it. One of the things that happens in community healing is co-regulation. Black people know how to co-regulate. So Dewana mentioned these calls. Some of what happens on these calls is prayer, divine appointments. I don't need no music. I'm going to hype my bestie up moments, right? Like those things have to happen too. Like you're killing it. Let me remind you how dope you are. But half the time, y'all don't know, Dewana be dropping bars at rallies and on the phone. And I'll be like, Dewana, I'm taking that too. That's good. She had a whole moment when we were in Durham. No, in Raleigh the other day, rallying in Raleigh. I'm going to get it right. Where she talked about us being the bread in this moment. Like we can't come out and ask y'all to give something else when your basic needs aren't being met. And so reminding us that we are the bread, that is what we have. Black people are the solution. We're not just coming to ask you for the solve. We are the solve and the salve. That is what this moment requires too. So it isn't just like we're on the call working and organizing. We're also there to remind each other that it's going to be okay because we got us.
That's true.
That's the point.
Absolutely.
very, very good point. Thank you, AJ. So I feel like everyone's going to have a lot to say about this particular question. How do we ensure the experiences and the voices of Black women are central to the policies and decisions that impact our communities? I know that I just came back from Washington. There are a lot of elected officials that are already having this conversation and organizing in phenomenal ways. But how can we make sure that even the most marginalized individuals, even the ones without titles, even the ones who do have titles, but the titles are not recognized because their title might be Big Mama in the neighborhood, but she got a whole lot of weight. How do we center Black women's voices in this movement work at all levels?
I'm gonna pivot to Arian.
No, I was gonna say that would be
And
you.
I was gonna pivot to you and Commissioner Tyson.
No, I was really thinking this was yours.
It's yours, sis. Because we need you to tell what good stuff.
Well, you got to know the issues
want me
of the
to-
community.
That's right.
You got to, if you don't know what your community want and their needs, you know, everybody think they know what their community want and need. You don't know it if you can't walk in a room and they say, hey, and they know you. You don't know nothing about them folks.
That's right.
You might think
That's right.
you know, and you might think they need that. You might think that go over to Fort Wayne. Go over there and tell them who to vote for and watch and see what they tell you to get up out that building. But I'm sorry, that's the one in West End, Fort Wayne. Freedom Manor, they are well educated on politics. But people think because they're senior citizens, they're not. They really are. It's a way you go to them. It's a way that you learn the issues in the community. Because it's a poor area, don't mean they are ignorant to the fact that of the condition that they are living in. It's just that they can't do anything about it, and they need motivation, and they need organizing and mobilize to make sure that they can get out and put the person in office that would address their issues.
We historically, our people have done for ourselves. When they told us that there was no pathway for us to do with them, we've done for self. And even when we've done for self, they have sought to steal, kill, and destroy that. On the stage with us today, we have a modern civil rights leader that soon folks will know as a hero. And that is someone who has become a dear sister and friend to me, Arian Simone. How many of you all know about the Fearless Fund? Woo woo! And you know, the Fearless Fund has used venture to fund our businesses to provide access to capital when white folks said no. When they said, no, you're going to continue to make up only 1% of what we give in this space, even though many of us have kept their businesses running. Arian said, not on my watch. So that is your intro to answer this question.
gosh.
Thank you.
Black women, prior to the Fearless Fund, average fundraise was only $30,000. And then we came on the scene cutting 7-figure checks. Thank you very much. It was very, very disruptive to the current economic structure that clearly exists in this country, and people were disturbed. And we ended up in a federal court case that we ended up, thank God, getting permanently dismissed. But Dr. Nadi, I want to make sure I answer your question properly. You said, how do we, with Black female voices?
How do we center their voices in the work that we're doing in movement building?
In the work that we do, and in policy as well, too. And I guess they just know behind the scenes some of my personal life. Right now, I'm even working on legislation to make sure that we receive the proper funding, just even according to our demographics. Black women start businesses more than any other entrepreneurial demographic that exists. Like Commissioner said, we've always been working as Black women. People are like, oh, these numbers are so high. I said, you don't realize we had side hustles before it was called a side hustle. Yes, we've always had to figure out how to bring income into our families. It's just what we do. So yes, the time right now is now, and it is urgent, but access to capital does give people that permission to build the generational wealth that they definitely deserve.
So I kind of want to bat it back to you, because of course we all followed the Fearless Fund. We all watched the attack. We all watched all of these things. What I noticed about you is during one of afterwards, you made a statement, and it was something like, "We've always been on the defensive. Now we need to be on the offensive." What does that look like for you? And that really goes to the rest of the panel. Like, what does it look like for us to be on the offensive now?
The offensive looks like what I even just said. Prior to us getting sued, I actually wanted to get in more advocacy space for access to capital and get more policy done. So I'll just give it just really brief 2 minutes on how venture capital works for those who don't know. Y'all seen Shark Tank before? Okay, so it's like cash for ownership in a business. So the venture capital industry is a, oh God, $1 trillion industry. Trillions. I want you all to know the biggest investor in our industry is pension funds. So right here are the pension funds. Pension funds are your teachers, your police officers, your firefighters. Plenty of careers with people of color are the careers.
That's right.
So all of this money in these pension funds then go up to this $62 trillion industry of private equity venture capital. And then it's ran by 92% white men. And then it then goes up into these startups, which are over 90-something% white men. Very rarely does it make a full circle to go back in the community whose backs built the money that are feeding this whole machine. Very rarely. So if you know somebody who is a public worker, you tell them, I demand my pension fund has to go back to my community. So that's how that whole system works in venture capital. So being on the offensive means educating moments like that, explaining people how does the industry work. Being on the offensive means, oh, we're going to have policies put in place to make sure that the dollars of the pension fund are going back into the community. Being on the offensive means that we are investing in our black businesses. We are financially supporting our black businesses, and we are not funding anybody who is oppressing us. These boycotts are essential. People are not making changes based upon morality. They're making changes based upon money.
That's right.
No, seriously. They're making them based upon money.
That's right.
Economics is what moves the needle.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I can go on and on right now. Let me pass the mic.
Let me tell you. This is why I tell you don't need no cards.
Right.
Listen.
That was my first time in my life speaking with no cards, and she won't let it
And
go.
it's the last.
DeWanda, please tell her
No.
we were in front of the Supreme Court at a rally. I speak from my heart. March on Washington, I speak from my heart.
You took it as an insult. I'm taking it as a compliment. She didn't need no card, did she? Exactly.
I didn't want to miss that. I need call to action.
She didn't need no cards. But here's the, yes, you got an amen corner right here.
That's right.
This is the thing that I want you all to understand too. We keep hearing messaging about we are the resistance. And that's cool, but that's not it. We are not built to just respond to oppression. We are not built to just react to racism. We are not designed to just push back against oppression. We are also designed to innovate and have. Black Twitter was built on our backs, right? When you think about the many different things in this country, all of the different industries that became cool because black folks said so. Exactly. We designed a system of government, yes, one that does not always work for us in our interest, but we built this thing on our backs. The Capitol building in Washington, D.C. was literally built at the hands of slave labor. So we have to understand our role here. We deserve to be here. When they get mad at what we're saying just because it's the truth and they're like, well, then leave then. No, sir, we will not. We deserve to be here. We own this. We run this. We built this joint for free. And that means it will actually serve us. That is what is required of us. So when we talk about proactivity and playing an offensive strategy, that is what State of the People Power Tour is all about. It is designed to help us tap into people power. When we're up here and we're saying this is what democracy looks like, that's flying over the heads of so many of our folks, because if this is what democracy looks like, I don't want it. Girl, come on, D. That's why we be on the call till 2 in the morning. We were completing sentences the same now. My point is, we are designing what we want. And we have the ability, the power, the resources, the time, the talent, the treasure, all of it to figure it out. So I know we're tired, but what we can't afford is to come back here again. So whatever we have to do to uproot the things that don't serve us, whatever we have to do to redesign the things that we know we deserve, whatever we have to do to push that legislation, to write the policy papers, we are building that, and we need you all with us. We cannot do it alone. It is a much lighter load when we strive to do it together, and we've seen that, D.
I think, and what I wanted to say to this question of how do we stay on the offensive, one of the things is realizing that not everybody has to be the face. Because if you're waiting to be the face of something, you're missing the whole movement. We all know that the movements in this country, there are many faces that you will never see, but without them, we don't get to where we are today. So you can't wait to be the face, but what you also can't do is get envious when somebody is actually, when it's their moment. The one thing I can tell you is that when Arian was going through what she was going through with Fearless Fund, nobody had to ask me if we need to support her and make sure she was covered. We decided we was getting on the road to make sure this sister was okay. And every resource that we needed to put together and every person that we needed to call, every call we needed to be on, we stood with her because in that moment, she was for all of us. And her being successful was our collective success. And that is how we get through this thing together. When any of us, Sheila is somebody that, Commissioner Tyson, I'm sorry, I don't want to disrespect you, but I call her Sheila all the time because she is another person I be on the phone with all the time. When she is out here, this lady fights tirelessly for individuals all the time. And we talk about it all the time, how she doesn't always get the credit. But when I know I need to get something done, I'm calling Commissioner Tyson. And she knows the same thing. So we know who we need to put in position and who's already in position for such a time as this. But we have got to be willing to work with each other, to undergird each other, to die to ego. Because a lot of our quite frankly, a lot of our stuff is not going as far as it can because we're not dying to ego. And ego is not what we need in this moment. What we need is a radical collaboration. I've been saying that at all the different things. We need radical collaboration. We need the idea that I've got something that I do better than you, and you got something that you do better than me, and we need to bring all those things together to fight this fascism. Right? And so that is what we see. We're trying to make sure that particularly when we go and we are asking everybody to come to the table is, but what are you good at? You know, what resource do you have? What way do you show? Because we don't always know what that is. But what we know is that we have everything that we need in our community.
And to add to that, though, if everybody just does a little, nobody
That's
has
right.
to do a lot.
That's right.
So there's no burnout when everybody's just carrying some
Right.
weight. When
Yeah.
you were talking about like the mental health issues and things of that sort. And I do believe you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
But if everybody does something, nobody has to do everything.
That's right.
And when you're talking about egos, that thing, I didn't ask for this.
Right.
That I was just doing the work.
That's true.
Literally just doing the work. But that comes with a price and a cost.
That's right.
Fame comes with cost.
Yeah.
It just does. Like the first few weeks of the court case, it was unsafe for me to even be in my
That's
own
right.
home.
That's right.
Yes, they were like, Aaron, you got to have a go bag.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, you know, I've had that. The mayor's detail is assigned to my house. I've had times where I've had hired snipers in my windows. Like people don't realize what that comes with.
Yeah.
And then being willing to speak up. Everybody, we were the first lawsuit in the anti-DEI war. Everybody else after us was folding.
That's right.
They were folding. They didn't want to stand up. So it comes with a cost.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, ego, you need to let that go.
Right.
Because you don't even know what that comes with.
That's right.
Shoot, sit that, please.
Could you tell them who the majority of the people on the pension fund is? Because I don't think they really know. Because that's why they picking at trying to destroy the pension fund. Majority of them are black and brown people and regular people that work. That's why they are attacking that fund, and I don't think people realize that.
That's right. That's right.
Now I want to talk about, so y'all give us so much. And what I'm trying to make this a conversation where individuals in the audience are energized and want to get involved, but I'm also thinking about those who don't know where to start. So when you're talking about sustaining movements, because the movement work's already happening, there's a ton of movement work already on this stage. Movement work is already happening. But for individuals who are going about their day-to-day, who are seeing these things in the news, who are trying to put food on the table, for young people who are in school that feel like there's nothing they can do because they're young, for some of the senior citizens that Commissioner Tyson has mentioned that feel like no one is listening to them, what does it look like for them to be involved in this movement work that needs to be sustained? Like if somebody is starting from the very base level and they don't know what to do, in my mind, I think you already kind of mentioned it, it's like just reaching out and saying, I have an interest and I have these talents. But really, if it's just somebody in the audience that comes to you today and says, I want to do something and I don't know what to do, what would your response be to them?
Where's the QR code?
Right. The first thing is get them involved.
Where is the QR code?
Right. it's out there in the lobby.
Okay, somebody's gonna
There's
go
a
grab
QR
the QR code,
Right. In
please.
terms of the
Somebody's gonna
tour,
go.
There's
the
also,
QR
it's
code,
up
yeah.
here, stateoftheppl.com.
Yeah.
Go ahead, D, and I'll come in.
Well, I think the first thing is you've got organizations here who've been doing the work that you should plug into. So if you don't know about Black Women's Roundtable, if you don't know about Black Voters Matter, Woke Vote, and all the other organizations, the NAACP, there's so many organizations already doing the work that I'm sure that if you have passion in some kind of way, you want to help students who are, who need help with learning things, right? If you want to help the seniors, if you want to help people who need rides to the grocery store, there's somebody out here already probably doing that. Do a little bit of research. It will require that you not wait on somebody to find you. And I know a lot of times we think that, we'll see get an inspiration or see it on TV or see it online. The best thing you can do is be inquisitive right now. You can be very, very inquisitive right now, meaning you are searching for information. Whether it is about our people, whether it's about opportunities, you got to stay thirsty for knowledge right now and stay thirsty for connection. And if you look for those organizations that are already on the ground, there's a couple of things that you should be thinking about. One is, have they been successful? Are they doing the thing that they said they were going to do? We're not asking you to connect with something that is not moving or that's not working. But there are plenty of organizations that are moving and that are working that are waiting for you to get connected to them. So do the research on who's already doing the work. Yes, we can say, if you're of voting age, you should be aware of what's going on politically. You should understand how these things impact us. Voting is one of the tools. It's one of the tools in our toolkit. It's not the silver bullet. It's not the big hammer. It is one of the tools in the toolkit, but you need to have that political power. The other thing that I think is important is that realizing that your voice just in your own family. If you are the one person in your family that decides today that you're going to learn enough to bring it back to your dinner table, you are a revolutionary. And you don't have to wait on anything else. You become the thing that you've been waiting to see. And as you get more information, as you get aligned, it is your responsibility to bring the next person with you. So if you're a part of a friendship group, or you're a part of a sports team, or you're a part of a business, and everybody's saying the same thing, well, I don't know what to do. If you take the step of doing just a little bit of research and then go back and get everybody and say, we're going to start here today together, you'll be surprised as to how much impact that will have, right? And how many people will follow you. Thank you, AJ. And so I would say start there. I like to keep things very, very simple, because when we think that it requires $10 million to get started, or if we think it requires having a building to get started, or if we think it requires having a following to get started, we never start. And that's what they want. And that's what they want. They want us to feel like it's too big for us to actually wrap our arms around it. But the African proverb says, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So which bite are you? Right? And so we have to take the time to just be inquisitive, to be the first. It's okay to be the first, but it's not okay to be the only. So you be the first, you go and pick somebody else, and we can continue to move it together.
And get involved. And that's the majority of things. The complaints come out the community. The community is nasty. But 9 times out of 10, you the one nastying it up. If it ain't you, it's your neighbor. And you don't want to tell on. And it makes no sense. If you want a clean community, you can go door to door. I know it's 91 houses on my street. And 3 of them are empty. We got together and bought one. It's things like that. And I stay in West End. So it's things that we can do to actually help. But if you don't want to help yourself, you can't expect, government is not here to take care of you. And we need to stop thinking that. Well, they supposed to, no, they don't. That is not the way government is set up. It's not set up to help you like that. It's just really isn't. I thought the same thing before I became a public official, and I came off the street. But I had to reevaluate everything when I became a public official. I'm still a little rough around the edges, so y'all continue to work with me. But we got to understand that and help do things for ourselves. I'm serious. It's a lot of things we can do for ourselves. A lot of things. And I learned that just being around senior citizens. When I need some energy, and I needed some today, I go visit the senior citizens or the children. It'll give me a boost, and I'll be ready to fight the world. You know what? This is what I'm talking about right here.
So
I just on this same point, I think it's really important for us to understand what movements and coalitions are made of. It's made of human beings. So when you think about the Montgomery bus boycotts, those are people that everyday people just trying to get to work. When you think about the children that help to integrate public schools, those are just little kids, students, right? When you think about the sanitation workers who Dr. King went into Memphis to help, those are sanitation workers, everyday folks helping to pick up trash. We are the ones that make up the movements. So for us, whether it's somebody that can help design a website, someone that can help raise money, someone like Commissioner Sheila who's connected with the seniors, making sure that we never look past our elders, the students who were in this room earlier today, every single person has a role to play. Whether you're a teacher, an engineer, a thought leader, a great speaker, someone that can organize people. You could be an HR professional that does well, has a good bedside manner. Lord knows it would be better than mine, right? Everybody has a role to play in this, and I dare you to just say, these are the things that I'm good at. These are the talents I have. These are the strengths of mine. How can I be put to work? There's absolutely a role to play. I love what DT said too. This is a coalition, but we need you to plug into the local organizations where you are, because that is how the movement will be sustained. The coalition in and of itself is not the boots on the ground making sure, hey, I just had a flash, enough boots on. No? Where them fans at? No? Okay. Ain't no fans. Well, we need the fans too. I just saw some Black Voters Matter fans earlier. Where them fans? Anyway, point is, we can get through the movement with joy. That's all right too. We have to. We've got to figure out how to sustain this, and that is mostly why each of us joining arm to arm, hand to hand, and ensuring that we stick together in this.
So I stepped away from these questions. These questions are gone. I think some of the things I want to dive into right now is what we've already been talking about, but also what does strategic resistance look like? And the reason I say that is because there are several nonprofits that are involved in this, and we are serving in a number of different capacities, but there's also governmental limitations on what a nonprofit can do, right? And what a nonprofit can say. And I also am a professor, and I've worked with some universities. I'm not with the university anymore, but specifically am hearing that there are things that a university, professor can say and do. So I think some of what I'm thinking about right now is, for those who are already involved in movement work, for those who are interested in movement work, what does it look like to sit silent and really think through the sacrifices that you'll have to make and the potential risks that you'll put yourself in? You've mentioned this as well, and I think that that's a real conversation to have, because you jeopardize something. But I also think that you can strategize around that. If I, as a nonprofit, and there are things that I can't say, I know who can, and I can give them that data, and I can give them the talking points, and I can, arm them with the things that they have. I'm not a full-time faculty member anymore, but there are individuals who are in academia who are like, hey, we can't do this, we can't do that. But I can, because I'm not there with the institution anymore. So I think strategy like that is something that I want to hear a little bit more from each of you, because I've definitely talked to some people who feel stifled because of legal ramifications and limitations that are placed on them because of what their particular positions might be. But I'm also always reminded that sitting at the lunchroom counters at one point, that was illegal and it was still done. And it shifted things. And you talked just a moment ago about the children. There was a lot of strategy about that, right? For the children who marched, is because they knew if the parents marched, they would lose their jobs, and that would jeopardize their livelihood. So they strategized around having the children march. I'm very interested in hearing from each of you, what does that look like in the work that you do, and what kind of advice and recommendations and suggestions and supports would you give to someone who's like, I want to do this, but I'm concerned about what I am able to do and what I'm not able to do because of my position?
Okay. You have to know. Jesus Christ. Thank you. You have to know who your surrogates are, because you are correct, but you also have to be, how should I put this? You have to know what you're willing to sacrifice. there is going to be a sacrifice. There's an exchange. When we wanted to fight the lawsuit, we sacrificed somewhere around $100 million. But I said, I can't be on the wrong side of history with this. And it was too important to me to make sure that we didn't have any bad case law established at a constitutional level that was going to affect an entire black race. Like, you have to know what you're willing to give for that. And when it comes down to the liberation of my people, there's no price for that.
I just told somebody that today.
Like, I'm not a slave to nobody's check. There's no price for that. So you have to be willing to make that sacrifice, just point blank. But I do hear you, because I have legal limitations on the venture side. We're SEC regulated and everything else as far as what we can and cannot do. But you have to know who your surrogates are. I know if I can't say something, I know Angela may be able to. Dewana may be able to. Commissioner may be able to. Dr. Nader may be able to. But you also have to, for the bigger picture, too.
That's right.
You also keep the bigger picture in mind.
That's right.
Don't get me wrong. We still came out on the other end. We had a whole program. I had cut a deal that they didn't know about. So we still came out on the other end, still with hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to get back out to our community.
That's right.
But you have to know what you are willing to give for that. And there is no price for the liberation of your people.
That's right. That's right.
And, well, y'all know me. It's a lot of things that I don't supposed to do, but I do it anyway. But I try to actually get legal advice.
That's right.
I can bring up the water board. I asked the county attorney, can I sue and lead for the ratepayers? He said, you're a ratepayer on the Sheila Tyson, you can sue. I went down there to try to file a lawsuit Friday. So this is what I'm talking about. Even though I was kind of skeptical, because I do have white people in my district. But what was more important, my friendship with the people on the water board, or the people at the city, or the white people. I chose y'all. Every time. It just doesn't matter. Because I truly feel like that y'all will fight, and you're going to fight for what's yours, and that's your water. I feel like you're going to fight for it, no matter who it is. It's not even a competition. I don't even think about stuff like that. It's automatically on the people's side. And a lot of people don't ask me stuff. Because they said, you already know what she's going to say. You already know how she's going to vote. So don't go over there even saying nothing to her. And I'm on there with Republicans. So they don't come to me. And a lot of stuff they don't even say around me. But I do listen at the door a lot. Where I can try to find out exactly what's going on. So it's a sacrifice, like she said. It's a sacrifice that I'm, the convener for the Black Women Round Table. Yes, they watching everything I do. I have to be very careful, but y'all come first. Because that's my granddaughters. Those are my grandbabies. They're not going to look back in history and see where I done just totally messed up. And then they're going to be scared to say that their grandmama was Sheila Tyson. Embarrassed. I'm not going to embarrass my grandbabies.
There it is. I wanted to just rest in this legal piece for just a moment. First, I wanted to acknowledge we have C3 organizations as partners in the coalition, as well as C4 organizations, 501c4 organizations, and those parameters are different. I also want to just acknowledge that in a land of lawlessness, in an administration that has a president with 88 indictments, there is no law of the land. And so what I want to tell y'all is we are in a space where the bar is sliding. It keeps on moving. So no matter what we do, whether we try to abide by the regulations or not, they're still coming for us. So we can try to conform and contort and do what we think is reasonable and try to fly below the radar, we had one organization, I didn't even tell Dewana this, I don't think, that said, well, we want to be with y'all, we want to do this, but you know, we're being targeted. I said, first of all, I ain't heard y'all mention nowhere, no how. First of all, some of our biggest partners have been mentioned, have been put in on True Social, have been mentioned on Twitter. But y'all have not heard from y'all. And if you think that you hiding with black in your name, you got another thing coming. In an era of fascism, there is not anything you can do to hide.
That's right.
So you might as well stand up and be on the right side of history, like my dear sister right here. You can keep trying to contort and conform and say, we just want to make sure we don't sacrifice anything. But while you're not sacrificing anything for your organization, you're sacrificing everything. Single thing for black people. So I dare you to stand up. I dare you to be bold. I dare you to speak out. I dare you to do what is right. This is the right time to do the right thing. We do not know how much time we're going to have. So you got to move in the right direction. And if you can't do it on behalf of your organization, do it on behalf of you as an individual. You can say, I'm Angela Rye and I approve this message.
That's it.
Do you understand? Like, you do not have to do it on behalf of your org. But if you know you have the thing, the tools, the thing to say to equip and message things properly to our people, you better do it. Do it for somebody.
Well, I think here's the other thing. Because the fear is real, right? And we don't want the fear to keep people from actually organizing. The next thing you should do is just ask questions. Go to trusted voices. Sheila, Commissioner said she went to the legal department for her job to make sure that she was in compliance. Because what we are not asking you to do is to step outside of what you are, what you have made a uniformed and an educated decision to do. But if you haven't educated yourself on what the outcomes could be, that's a problem. So why do I bring this up? When we were organizing around Breonna Taylor and we were going to, we were out in Minneapolis organizing around George Floyd, they told us that, you know, the military was coming in and they were going to, at a certain point at night, if you was outside, they were going to start shooting rubber bullets. And we were like, Deanna's in here, she remembers that, we were together, and we didn't quite believe, I mean, you know, because in your mind, you're like, this is my right to protest. I'm doing it legally. I'm standing up. I'm not doing, you know, I don't present any kind of way other than I'm here for my community. Surely they're not going to open fire on me while I'm doing the right thing. That's got to be talking about something else. And as soon, I'm telling y'all, as soon as it hit like 6 o'clock, they pulled those guns out and they started shooting and we started running. And what I mean by that is you could be doing the right thing and still get hit by a bullet, right? And so we have to be, but we had decided in that moment for us that it was important that we be there to show up for those who could not be there. Now, my mom and dad, who are sitting in the audience right now, my beautiful mother, whose birthday this weekend, raise your hand, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
And my niece, Royal, who's sitting next to her. I didn't tell them that story till I got back. Because I didn't want them to worry in that moment. But then we've been having real conversations lately, and this is why this is important. You have to talk to your family about where you stand and what your role is in this moment. And I talked to my parents just very recently, and I told them that my role has shifted. That I went from being somebody who was okay with just trying to be in the background and just trying to undergird people, but now I believe I have to come out in a different way, and I'm likely going to be, in a sense, uncovered. And you know what my parents told me? There is no such thing because we're covering you. Right? My dad, right there. He don't play the radio, okay? He said there's no such thing. And so it gave me the strength, it gave me the courage to come from a different place this go round. And I feel that we need to know that we're covered if we do take the chances, because that's what happened in the civil rights movement. When people were out there on the front line, somebody was taking care of Dr. King's kids. Somebody was taking care of Medgar Evers' babies. Somebody was taking care of Fannie Lou Folk, right? Because they knew how important it was for Arian and Angela and Commissioner Tyson to be on the front line, you can't be worried about whether or not you're not going to be able to cover something. So in this moment, if you're asking yourself, how can I show up? Maybe it's to make a meal. Maybe it's to pay a light bill. Maybe it's to take care of the people who are actually doing the work that you can't necessarily do in this moment, but your heart is there. And you are still showing up. And so the covering is what we need. And you have to decide at one point, like, hey, we've been talking about as a family, we've been talking about what do we really need? How much room do you really need? How many pairs of shoes do you really need? How many do you need it in this moment, right? And those are the kinds of conversations that you can't have with us. You got to have at home. You got to have with yourself. And so I think that's the realness of this moment in terms of asking yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice? What am I willing to shift? What am I willing to get rid of in the pursuit of liberation? Because that should be the goal. We all want to be free, right? And it's going to cost us all something.
And because you're a public official don't mean that you got to sit down and not say nothing. That's what get on my nerve with these public officials. We don't even get to started talking about them because they were voted to stand up,
That's right,
not to sit down. So if you don't want to fight issues for your community, that ain't what you need to do. You might need to go be a piano teacher or something like that, or be an art teacher. You don't need to be trying to fight issues with a community. You know you are a public official for a poor area, but you don't want to say nothing. And if you don't want to say nothing, that ain't what you need to do. It's fine. Go do something else. Go be an art teacher somewhere. Teach Sunday school. Because we need people that's going to fight for us in these streets. They are not scared to open their mouth. I ain't scared of no public official here in the state of Alabama or Washington, D.C. needs. When it come up to these people around here. And we got to start telling these folks that or get their butts out of office.
Dr. Dallin, like, what y'all got to
No, I
what
said,
you got
hey,
me
she
into?
said what she said,
Right,
and she
yes,
said it with her
right.
whole chest, okay? So look, like, we gotta close. But what I really would like to just close on is we started with healing. We're gonna come back around to healing. We're gonna end with healing. But in healing, I also want to respect and make room for righteous rage. Because if you try to dismiss that anger and that rage that you have, that will do damage to your mental and holistic wellness. If you sit with it and acknowledge it and recognize it as righteous, because of the times that we're in this moment, you can actually harness it to fuel movement work, but also to usher in a different way of healing. So let's end with that. How can you harness your righteous rage while also making space for your healing and rest?
Before we answer that, can we just let you tell us for 2 minutes how you exist in the world? Because I think it's important for people to know why you are coming up with these questions and why you're bringing them out, and because of who you are and what you do. So can you just share that for 2 quick minutes?
I sure will. I was looking around the room to see if Dee was still here because we've been having these side conversations. So I'm the founder and CEO of the Black Women's Mental Health Institute. This is our 10-year anniversary. We ran for the first 7 years of our existence as a fully volunteer-run organization. In 22, we started a statewide free mental health pilot program in the state of Alabama. That's when we contracted 1099, so some part-time staff to handle that. And in less than 2 years, we've reached over half the state, provided over 4,000 hours of free counseling, established a clinician and training program to increase the number of clinicians, Black clinicians, to train current clinicians in cultural responsive care, healing practices, all of that work. I'm looking for Dee because I've been having conversations with her and we're supposed to sit and talk about this, is that I'm angry in this moment, right? We've been written into the state budget. That's beautiful. That's not gonna take my tongue, and I'm trying to figure out how to have these conversations that I know I have to have. I have to sit with individuals who are like, well, you should think about changing your name. We're not gonna change our name. We're the Black Women's Mental Health Institute. I'm also a professor. DEI consultant. I've been contracted with universities to teach classes with medical students and medical residents for years. Now I'm being told to take out the word justice out of my curriculum. Justice? Future physicians, future doctors can't talk about social and political determinants of health. What do you want me to say? Do you want me to just stand in front of them and say nothing? And here's the thing, the students want it. So now I'm talking to the students like, what does it look like for you to organize and let your institutions know what they want? Well, it's state funding. They can't do these things. And I'm trying to figure out, it's across the country. It's Alabama, but it's certainly across the country. So in this movement, with the work that we're doing, maintaining our mental health, serving the community, supporting their mental health, supporting the mental health of mental health clinicians, because Black clinicians in this moment are burned out and they're under-resourced and they're not paid enough. So I'm trying to do all of that work, but at the same time position us in a different way, because the conversations now that we've been having, which have always been about healing and community, is really about systemic racism and sexism and classism and homophobia. It's really saying inequity wreaks havoc on our mental health. I can't just operate within this traditional mental health care model and say, oh, here's care, you're taking that away. This week, Birmingham City Schools, $15 million taken from Birmingham City Schools for mental health this week. The state funding slashed, everything slashed, and this is happening across the country, but we say it's mental health aware. In mental health, you slashed $15 million from the Birmingham City School System for mental health in May, which is Mental Health Month. You don't care, right? So at some point, it's like, okay, we have to have those very direct questions of saying, or conversations of saying, this is what we're gonna do, and if you're not gonna do it for us, we're gonna do it for ourselves. And so now there's this whole organizing community movement of what does it look like for us to do our own mental health? We're starting an academy to train individuals. They can't get these classes at the university. They can come get these classes from us. We're doing pipeline programs with high school students because we need more of them to think about becoming clinicians. There's all this other work that we're having to do, and I want to do it, but I also want to make sure that I'm doing it with love and community and not being consumed by my righteous rage. I want to harness the righteous rage and use that. I think that's why I put the question to y'all. So this is really me just I'm listening to y'all and I'm like, oh, okay, I see. And even what you said, like when you said I want to be on the right side of history, I say that all the time. I say there's no way I could do this in this way in this moment, because my daughter, who just turned 16 Thursday, who just turned, she can't look at me and know that mom said that this was okay or didn't do anything. I need her to know that in this moment I'm saying this is not okay. And if it looks like breaking the law a little bit, again, I find comfort in the fact, I'm not saying I'm about to go break the law, but I'm just saying, I find comfort in the fact that sitting at the lunchroom counter was against the law. Like, I really am like, no, it might be against the law, but it's right. The law is wrong. So this is kind of where my mind is right now in the work that we're doing, and it's shifting. And so I think it's kind of beautiful that it's shifting now in our 10-year anniversary. I think it's shifting now where the numbers that we're doing in regards to our mental health care reach and access are undeniable. I think it's happening now also in this movement where I get to be on a stage with wonderful women like you. You know what I'm saying? So clearly there's purpose in this work. I know it is, because God woke me up out of my sleep and told me to do it. So I ain't just come up and wake up and decide to do something. Like, he woke me up and said, do this now. And I said, okay, bet, what we doing? So I put that question to you because I see the work that you're doing, and I look at the work that I'm doing, and I know I'm asking myself these same questions. So thank you for that. Thank you for saying, girls, talk about yourself.
I got you, Dr. Nadia. It's like 3 points I want to go over. First of all, slavery was legal at a point in time. So we're not being too concerned in that regards. If something's wrong, it's wrong. It's just wrong. Second of all, I just want to clarify, there's nothing illegal about using the word justice. There's nothing illegal about using the word black. That is the spirit of fear that is going on. So you can stand your ground at any point in time, because if you give it up, what are you giving that up for? Like, for? What's the exchange for that? So there's nothing wrong with keeping any of these words. You know, when I was mentioning about how we were willing to basically lose $100 million plus, what happened when we got sued, we were actually in diligence with all the big pension funds. I mean, we were about to have a buku bunch of cash come in, and people probably got wind of it. And then here comes this lawsuit. I could have folded and said, you know what? We got to figure this out. This is a whole bunch of cash. I was like, no, we got to stand up for the right thing at this moment right now. I will figure out how to make up the money during this process, and it'll be taken care of. The third thing, to answer your question, I think people have a narrow view of what self-care is. And I think that's when you're talking about, well, how do we do this and heal and all this stuff? Going to the spa is not self-care. Getting your nails and feet done is not self-care. Self-care is taking care of yourself. So when we look at it through the lens of these aesthetics that have been commercialized, we get confused on actually what should be taking place. So this is a very urgent moment. When we have money coming into our communities, that is healing. You know, when we have progress as a people, that is healing. So there is no, oh my gosh, this whole separation is because of how things have been commercialized. You think like, oh God, I'm supposed to be at the spa. I'm supposed to be this. No, when you know who you are as a person, you have more value for yourself. That is self-care. If it means I'm taking the time to watch a documentary about my people, that is my self-care. So I want people to understand that so they just don't get confused in this moment. Because progress in our community is healing.
Not worrying how you can get your prescription. Bringing in resources like she said. That's a relief. Something that you don't have to worry about today. Someone giving you free vegetables. I can make that this week so I don't have to go out and pick up cans. That's self-care. Any type of thing. I had to force the county into writing for a grant to assist with utilities and rent and mortgage during the COVID, and it was $75 million. Free money that they said was social. They had to be forced into applying from it because it was going to go back. We end up getting it, and more of the white people needed it than we did. I just I just can't say enough about what we need and what we do to help one another. And without it, we would have nothing. I'm talking about people are sacrificing their health to buy food, to pay a light bill. You know, it's really, really, really sad that we got to sacrifice everything just to get a little bit. We can't look for nonprofits to come out and help our community because it's illegal. Everything is illegal when it come up to us, but it's fine when it come up to them. So we always are us is wrong and them is a good thing. So we got to wake up, y'all, and fully understand when you get opportunities like this. And I'm not even talking about the three women right here because y'all always have access to us. But you got access to more national knowledge with these two women right here that help us three women. And y'all really need to really, really take in this stuff and see how serious this thing is. Their lives are being, I'm not even worried about nobody bothering me because I can hold my own. And I got you to want to know. She already know I was, man. You ain't got to worry about her mama. Because I got her. I got my knee fixed too, so we good. So, but these women, they are risking everything. Their families, their lives, and I'm talking about their personal lives. It's on the line. Then they had to put it on hold, all this traveling. They leaving their families. So it's things like that where we really appreciate you. And I know our sacrifice, I know yours is triple. But I just want you to know that we appreciate y'all.
We love you, Commissioner. I just, oh, that's on. It's just a little quiet. I want, DT, I want you to close us out so y'all hear from a daughter of Birmingham. But I just want to acknowledge one thing. Dr. Nadia, you mentioned Dr. Davis in a conversation you had with Angela Davis, who I'm named after. Our name means bringer of truth. And I'm saying that because I think that we often rushing to get to refuge, rushing to get to relief, rushing to get to safety, which we deserve, it is our birthright. We skip past the fact that truth has to be told and accepted before we can really truly heal. And so I don't want us to bypass that necessary step, because that is what we are experiencing every day in our physical and spiritual and emotional bodies, which is the violent erasure of blackness on every level. When we were just in Raleigh, they had just passed an anti-DEI measure. We are here battling the same thing. We're seeing that on the federal level. They tried to take Harriet Tubman's work off of National Park Service's website. So when you're facing that on every side, of course you're experiencing righteous rage. Of course you're experiencing righteous anger. Do not bypass that to healing, because if you can't sit in the fact that that exists, respond to that, which is your necessary requirement for history preservation, for legacy preservation, you can't get to no healing. Right? I'm not saying that you can't embody and experience that in and of yourself with your therapist, in community, but do not bypass what they are doing, which is denying the truth, denying our power, denying the fact that we exist and built this place just to get to the healing of it all. We can't do that. We've got to sit with where we are. We've got to strategize in where we are. And I think that is the pathway to real healing.
Can I say this before we leave? And I want y'all to address this nationally. The state of Alabama, we have won everything they have thrown at us. Our redistricting cases, we have won them. Everything they have thrown on us, even with Doug Jones, we won all of those. But we get the less funding coming in the state of Alabama. They fund Georgia, Florida, New Orleans, Texas. Me and DeWanda talk about this all of the time. We get less funding and we are doing more work. Can you imagine if they fund us, the amount of work that we can do? We got 40 counties that we have targeted already, and we're going to win them city by city, county by county. We can change the state. But if we don't have an opportunity like Georgia, they sunk so much money into Georgia, they had me down there working in Georgia. If we get the opportunity here, just an opportunity, that's all we want. You know what we can do? We got the people here that can do the work. We have the people here. We have shown you already with the work that we have accomplished with nothing. So if we get something, I can guarantee you we will make everything straight for the state of Alabama.
I mean, I feel like everything has been said, so I do want to just thank everyone who took the time to be a part of this moment, this day. It has been phenomenal. I'm so proud of my city for coming out. We pushed to make sure that Birmingham was on this tour for so many reasons, but I always want us to remember that we are not forgotten, that what we did here changed the world, and it can still change the world. And so, when I was sitting with your question, Dr. Nadia, about righteous rage and how do you sort of navigate that as you're trying to do the work, I will say that I don't know that I always do it well, but I've always been taught that you take that rage and you turn it into action. You do something with it, right? You don't let it fester. You do what Angela said. You acknowledge it. You sit with it. You name what it is. You name why you're mad. And then you figure out how to take that anger and do something with it. So that is our call to action. Do something with it. And I think that it's okay for us to say, in this moment, we're glad for allies. We're glad for people who care about us. But as Joy, who wasn't able to be with us, but she did a video for us, she said this earlier in the tour. She said, you know, when you're on an airplane and they tell you if something happened, before you help anybody else, you got to help yourself. You got to put your own oxygen mask on. Black folk right now, we putting our own mask on. We're taking care of ourselves for a second and figuring out what do we need, how can we operate, how do we get free, how do we stay free. And that is okay. We don't have to do anything else right now but that. And don't let anybody else tell you that, because when we liberate ourselves, history says that we liberate everybody else. So if we get this right, if we get this state of the people power tour right, if we get this work right, everybody else and every other demographic benefits from us getting it right. So it is okay for us to take this time. It is okay for us to learn right now. It is okay for us to figure out what we want to do. It is okay for us to get information. It is okay for us to pray. It is okay for us to sing. It is okay for us to do whatever it is that we feel like we need to do in this moment that we are uniquely called to, because our folk already know how to win. We already know how to do it. But we have talked a little bit about, and I'll end on this. We talked a little bit about, Sheila, you and I talk about this all the time, is that we don't always get the resources here. And, you know, we've done the work. And what I've decided when it comes to all of this is I am not waiting on anybody else to do what I can do. We said that in 2017, and we won. We figured out, we started organizing, and we won. The time to wait on anybody else is over. Please do not do that right now. You are your own answer. Connect with folk that you know and start working. And I promise you that in itself will be the powerful thing that we need in this moment. And so I just appreciate each of you for being here. Dee Reed, all of the volunteers. Can y'all clap it up for every single person who made this tour happen? All of the cameramen, all of the folks. Y'all don't understand what it takes to bring out the sound, the Carver Theater, the Foot Soldiers Network, all of the 20 organizations that came together. We've had media all day. The mayor came. This has been such an expression of love. It's been such an expression of blackness. And it has been such an expression that we understand what moment that we are in. And so I greet you and I thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Dr. Nadia, for this incredible panel.
Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you for everyone here. I will encourage you to please go to the State of the People Power Tour website. There's a lot of resources. This is making several stops in several cities. I know I'm going to try to go to other cities as well. So check it out and get more involved with this tour.
Please give DeWanna Thompson a round of applause.
Thank y'all. And I think that's a wrap on the State of the People Tour Birmingham. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.
Noise. Once again, Birmingham, y'all make some noise. Hold on, y'all, on the screen. Hold on. Hold what you got. Hold what you got, sound man. Can we show some love once again for these incredible women, black women, who are leading the way?